story about Zach Henning and how you were able to get into Washington and what you've seen out of him so far.
Yeah, Zach's been a phenomenal addition to the team and to our unit especially. But it was kind of cool because so Aaron, our GM, spent time at Washington and was aware of Zach and kind of everything that he kind of brought to the table. So when his name hit the portal, there was a little bit of a prior understanding of who he was and kind of relationship there. And it took about, I don't know, 4 snaps for me to be like, yeah, we'll be interested in this one. So it was because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the portal opened up the day of the Holiday Bowl. So we're getting ready for pregame right before the O-line comes out, and AK's like, hey, you want to get him on the phone? I was like, yeah. So he was priority number 1 from the beginning. His visit's kind of interesting. So he was visiting the team up north just before us, and he was supposed to get down like later that night. And I was texting him, and he's like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. And I was like, shoot, I'll be there to get you tonight if you need. So drove up myself and brought him back down, and we just hung out in the car on the drive back, and super grateful that he chose us, and he's been awesome for our room and for our team.
What was that conversation like driving down from Tempe?
It was just a lot about getting to know him getting to know me, me having to make sure that I wasn't speeding too much. I didn't want to give a bad first impression, but I was excited to get him back to campus. But no, it was an easy conversation, which led me to believe that it was going to be a great fit because it wasn't really like a forced interaction. It felt really natural, which was cool because it's one of those things where as a coach you really want to hit it off with your players, and that was a great ride back.
Juan and then Michael, compared to last season, how do you feel about your room going into this season?
I'm extremely excited. Kind of the same as I was last year. I think that's part of coaching, right? Is you want to be excited about your room, and you want to be excited about your guys, and you're excited for them to have an opportunity to go compete. And I think this room loves to compete. They love each other, which is awesome. And I'm really optimistic about what the future holds for our room. I think we are in a much better place depth-wise, and that's just because last year there's a great crop of young kids that just weren't really ready. The Javians, the Louis, the Wheelers of the world, they were freshmen, and now after having kind of a year under their belt, you can start to see the development from those guys, as well as the additions of Nate and the growth of Isaac and obviously Zach that we just talked about. But I think the room is in a very healthy place, and I think the best part about it is that there's competition in the room, and you kind of see that out there now with different guys getting snaps and having a productive camp.
Michael and then Jason.
I've always heard that coaches like to have maybe like 8 or so guys that they can trust heading into a season.
God, that sounds awesome. That'd be dope.
Who are the leading candidates for like 6, 7, 8?
It's actually I joke about that, but I honestly believe we're in a really good spot that way. Grayson is a guy that is kind of proven himself time and time again when his number's called to go in and play. So Grayson's there for sure. The emergence of JV and Goo has been awesome. He's given us valuable reps at center in camp. He's taking reps at guard right now. His physicality is really starting to show up. And the cool thing about a guy like Javian is that he's played so many snaps at center now that he knows all the calls, so he knows what's going on. So it's an extra set of eyes out there for the center to help him with the communication and the targeting and all that type of stuff. Nate Hale has had a really productive fall camp. From where he started in spring to where he is now is, market value improvement. One of the guys that I'm most proud of is Wheela. You guys know who Wheela is, right? Yeah, Tohi. So sorry, that's a little in-house, I guess, nickname, but he's been awesome, and he is proof of, if you stick to the plan and truly buy into the process and the development, good things happen. He's gone from a guy that people were questioning whether or not he should be here to a guy that now we're talking about, how much he's going to play this year. So I'm super proud of him. I'm super excited about him. And he's really taken a huge step forward. Louis is also a guy that has proven to be able to add value to the room and depth. Bringing Jake Griffin in as well has also added to that. So, I don't think that's completely flushed out yet, but I think that's a good thing because we have guys that are pushing for those spots, and there's great competition there.
Is the transition or what you want to do any easier? I know KD had a great season last season, but the experience at center compared to a guy like Henning who's played it before, is there a difference in maybe how you're able to approach overall?
Yeah. Like you said, KD was awesome. You talk about a guy that was a tackle that all of a sudden had to snap the ball and make all the calls, right? But Zach's been in it before, and I think the biggest thing that people don't understand about that is the pressure, right? Of having to do all that, right? Of having to make sure that everybody's right, having to make sure that our eyes are right, so that Noah stays upright. There's a lot that goes into that. So, I think him having done it in game before, at a high level, kind of takes some of that stress off of him, and he kind of knows. What the deal is, so to speak. But he's been great, and I thank KD all the time for what he did and making the move, and he's happy about it now. But it was a little bit of pullback in the beginning for him. But Zach kind of knew right away what he was brought here for. And he's been up to the challenge, and I mean, you guys know, Coach G's defense is not one that's simple. So for him to walk in and learn a new offense, new calls, versus the defense that he has to see every day in practice, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. And like I said, I'm super grateful that he's a part of us.
David and then Justin.
Zach, what most frustrated you today about what was happening out there with your offensive line?
I don't know if it was frustration. Just I thought we had a good day. There's some pre-snap things that we need to clean up. There are there's new guys in there. Javian being one who's up with the ones today. And there's a lot that goes into that. Right, as a redshirt freshman, all of a sudden, you're surrounded by the guys that are going to play on Saturdays, and there's a lot that's going through your heart and your mind there. And then there's obviously as a coach, you want it to be perfect all the time, but that's why we have practice, right? And kind of the way I approach things is I approach everything as if it's a big thing, because we don't want to let the little things slip, and the devil's in the details. And we try to be as detail oriented as we can in that position. And there are little technical things here or there that we talk about often that I still want to see improve. So it's not so much frustration as it is. It's almost enjoyment that we still have stuff to coach.
Justin.
What are your early impressions of the freshman tackles, Malachi Joyner and Morales?
So Justin's been repping at guard, but I think Malachi is going to be a phenomenal player. He's athletic, he's strong. There is a lot to learn for him right now, because again, it's all new, and the transition from high school to college is I liken it a lot to learning a second language, because there is, he joked the other day, he's like, yeah, when I was in high school, it was just zone right or zone left. And now there's a bunch that goes into it. But once the game starts to slow down for him, I think you'll really start to see the talent that he is. There's still times now where, he's not 100% sure on what he's doing, but his athletic ability allows him to recover, which at tackle is a huge weapon, being able to recover on the edge. And he's got natural hips, natural feet. He's got a great punch. I'm super excited about Malachi, and I am so fired up that, he decided to stay home, so to speak.
What do you think about his throwing career? I know he's a shot put state champion. And does what he did there, does that translate to offensive line play?
Absolutely. The explosion that he has in his lower body, and the fluidity that he has in his hips, are all super paramount in what it is that we do. And he's as advertised that way.
Juan and Michael, does it make your job any easier to have that right side of deuced and balance with so much experience and so solid right there?
I think it would make anybody's job easier. But no, I'm excited about Alex and Tristan. They are guys that have got a lot of reps together in game, so they know how each other operates, which is huge for that tackle guard relationship. And as a guy that got to play next to Kevin Zeitler for a bunch of years, the fact that Tristan gets to play next to a freak like Deuced is pretty fun. The experience that those two have has been awesome for our room.
Michael and Justin.
You talked before camp about how Matthew Lotto had a good offseason, kind of like starting to feel comfortable with being a bigger guy than he was when he got here. Now that you've had a chance to watch him for a couple weeks here in training camp, what have you seen?
I love Lotto. Lotto's awesome. The thing that's crazy about Lotto is we all forget how young he is because you just feel like he's been here for forever. It feels like this dude's on his third contract or something. You know what I mean? Like he's been here a minute, but he has gotten so much better, and the amount of reps that he's taken in practice in years past, and the playing time that he got in season last year has truly just kind of made his growth exponential. And kind of the things that Lotto and I have been talking about is that it's time for him to take the next step, because he has all the ability to be a true lockdown Big 12 tackle, and we're starting to really focus in on the little nuances of it because the game has slowed down for him. He's ready to take that next step and truly becoming the guy that people are going to talk about. And I'm just so excited to kind of see that starting to take shape. He's becoming much more confident in his hands. He's becoming much more confident in the fact that he is a large human, and he's starting to act like a large human out there. And his physicality has improved. One of the things that we're continuing to work on with him is his pad level, because once that kind of comes around, I think his game is close to limitless.
Our last two will be Justin and Dave.
Going back to Zach Henning, I think Coach Stewart was talking about his affinity for pancakes or something like that. What's the story with that?
Yeah, so I'm not completely in the know on his pancakes deal, but pancakes was his nickname back in high school, I think, because he just would crush pancakes. So it was actually on the when we went to go up and get him, I had pancakes in the car for him, and he freaking crushed them on the way back. And I was like, "You just gonna eat that in the car?" It's not a rental, by the way. This is mine, so please don't spill. But no, Zach's great. We started calling him Mr. Perfect today after Kurt Henning, the wrestler. So yeah, so he's Mr. Perfect now, and he doesn't mess up. So.
We'll wrap up with Dave.
Coach, a lot of the false starts we've been seeing in camp have come from the offensive line. What are the key elements there that you want to see improved as you get closer to the fifth?
Focus. It's focus, right? You know, from whether it's us, a wide receiver, a tailback, whatever it is. It's just focusing on the snap count, pre-snap, and there's not much to it. There's not many drills that you can work to eliminate that, right? It's between you and you, and they're aware of it, and we've addressed it. But again, right, like I said today, you know, you're talking about a redshirt freshman that's in there with the first group for the first time, who's looking at, you know, all the stuff that is across the ball from him, trying to make calls and getting ready for the next snap. So, you know, the beauty of it is we don't play tomorrow, so we'll continue to work through it and continue to grind.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How do we think we spell Lula?
It's with a U.